Hey y'all, Alon here. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Alon. Today's video is going to be a June reading wrap up and a July TBR, kind of like similar to what I did last month. So I'll talk about the books that I read in the month of June and then talk about the books that I hope to read in the month of July. We'll go ahead and get started with the video. First book I read in the month of June was Where Sleeping Girls Lie. Now I talked about this book in like my favorite books so far that I posted. I believe I posted about 2 weeks ago. I talked about just some of my favorite books that I read for like the year of 2024, kind of like a halfway through the year reading wrap up, and this book made the cut. So this book is about this girl. Her name is Sade. Her parents end up passing away, and long story short, she decides to enroll herself into like this boarding school. Everything's going good at the boarding school on her first day, then randomly her roommate goes missing. And so the whole book is basically about her trying to figure out where Elizabeth is at, what's going on with the school. She learns about all the random cliques and like the school politics and just like all the drama that really goes on in the school. Girl, this is a YA book, but these kids was off the freaking chain. Like, I was just like, girl, all this drama and we just trying to figure out where Elizabeth at. Like, it was a really good read. I definitely do recommend it. My only thing I would say about this book was that it is extremely long, and at some points it felt like some of the information we were getting from, you know, some of the outside characters or that we were learning just felt like it was a little unnecessary. But it was still a really good book. Like, I really do recommend this book, and honestly I think I'm gonna go ahead and pick up Ace of Spades by this author as well. The next book I read was White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. Now if you know me, you know I love Tiffany D. Jackson. So I've read Allegedly by her and Monday's Not Coming by her, and so I wanted to go ahead and pick up White Smoke. And I will say that this wasn't my favorite book by her, but I still really did enjoy it. This book is about this girl. Her name is Marigold, but they call her like Mary or Mari, I don't know. And long story short, her family is like chosen to move into this neighborhood where they're trying to like rebuild the neighborhood, but like something is like really off with this neighborhood, and it basically just kind of tells a story about like what's going on with the neighborhood, but then also what's going on in the house, because for whatever reason the house that they move into is like really creepy. It gives like haunted house vibes. A lot of people compared this book to like Get Out because of like the tropes it has. Me personally, it felt very similar to When No One Is Watching by Nicole. I will say I did not enjoy that book. I like this book a lot better. To me, it was very similar. This book, we deal with like drug abuse, criminalization of weed, gentrification, just like all type of stuff is going on. Like I said, not my favorite book. I think it's because honestly, the character just wasn't really likable. Like, I think she was trying her best. She reminded me a lot of like Rue from Euphoria, where it was like she's kind of like a drug addict, and where she did put down like the more like hardcore drugs, she was still like fiending for weed. But like we learned later, it's just more so for anxiety. She had like really bad anxiety, and so she was kind of fiending for it. But it's like the stuff that she did to like get the weed was just kind of like, all right girl, like okay, like you're doing a little too much. One thing about Tiffany, her books are so easy to read. I think it took me like 3 days to read this book. Like, I just was peeling through it. The next book I read was Next of Kin by Kin Abdullah. Now this was my book club book of the month for June. This book is about this girl. Her name is Layla. She has a sister named Yasmin, and she has a brother-in-law named Andrew. Long story short, girl, I'ma just tell you. Layla is headed to work one day, and then her brother-in-law calls her. Is like, hey, can you come and like take Max to school? Someone came up from work. Girl, I'm not even gonna tell you what happened. I'm not gonna tell you what happened. Just read the book to find out. But when I tell you this book is insane, this is a courtroom thriller. So the first half of the book is like what actually happens. The second half of the book is like, or the second part of the book is like the courtroom case. We learn a little bit more backstory of like the family dynamic. We learn just some things in the case to where it kind of points Layla to be the bad person. And then the third part of the book is basically like their life after the court case and how they move on. But the third part is where we get all the tea, all the drama. And that was my only thing about the book, is like I felt like in the middle of the book, in the second half, when they're in court, we do get some tea, but like it's just stuff to make like Layla look bad. But of course that's what they do with any court case. But girl, we get to the third chapter of the book, literally the last couple pages, and I'm just like, oh, Ooh. Now granted, some of the stuff was not very shocking. Like if you kind of read between the lines and like look at the character dynamics, I'm like, hold on, something not right. But I was still like, girl, now we in the last chapter of the book and all the tea is being revealed. Like, Kia, you're not right for that. Good luck finding this book if you're gonna read it, because it's literally like impossible to find. I think everybody on booktube, or a lot of booktubers I see, and I think on booktok, have been reading this book. So good luck finding this book. And then the final book I read this month, I actually listened to this book on Libby, Local Woman Missing. Now my plan was to read and listen to this book, and I'm sorry if y'all can hear the freaking lawn man, and they cut the grass like every week. It's crazy. I was planning to read and listen to this book, but I started by listening to this book, and girl, when I started listening to it, I couldn't stop. Okay, so this book is about this woman. Her name is Meredith. Meredith and her daughter go missing. They cannot find them, but not only is Meredith and her daughter missing, so is their neighbor Shelby, or this woman that Meredith knows. They all in like the same community, but yeah, Shelby goes missing a little bit before Meredith. Girl, I don't want to say too much more. Go and get this book if you haven't read it. Go get the audiobook. Go and find it. This book was off the chain. Like, I will say there was a lot that went on in this book, and there was a lot of like drama, neighborhood politics, just a lot that went on with it. But girl, this book right here single-handedly made me want to love audiobooks. And I don't even think it was like a thing of like audiobooks. I think it was just like a really good ass book that I was just like, girl, I cannot stop listening to this. Like, I need to know what's going on. Now this book is really different for me because it has a lot of perspectives. We get the perspective of Meredith, we get the perspective of her daughter, we get the perspective of her son, we get the perspective of her neighbor. Like, there's so many different perspectives, and at some point, especially listening to the audiobook, I was kind of like, okay, I'm getting confused here. Like, what are we talking about? And it's also like from like 11 years back. Like, it was a lot going on, and I will say at some points it felt confusing, and I think a lot of people said that in their reviews. But girl, this book was so good. Like, I know for sure I'll probably end up like reading this book sometime soon, just like reading it. This book was off the chain. Like, the plot twist, the drama, the neighborhood mess, like, girl, it was so good. I definitely recommend this book. I think I gave this like a 5 out of 5 stars. Those were the books that I read for the month of June. Now let's go ahead and get into the books that I want to read for the month of July. The first book I plan to read this month is called Ewaoluwa, The Beauty of God. Now this book is very special to me, one, because my friend Nicole, my actual friend from high school, wrote this book, and I'm not gonna lie, I already read it. I read it last summer, and it's finally out. So yeah, I'm excited to read it again. This is on my July TBR. I definitely want to go ahead and read it for this month. And I'll have the link down below for you if you're interested in reading it. It's on Amazon. It's also available on Kindle. Go ahead and check this book out. It's really good. I really enjoyed reading it, and I'm just so happy to have the physical copy in my hand, girl. And look at this cover. Isn't the cover beautiful? Like, love it. Shout out to Nicole. I'm gonna reread this again. We'll see this on my July. The next book I would love to read this month is Keep Your Friends Close by Lucinda. Now this was on my June TBR, but we're gonna strive to read this for July. Yeah, I don't really remember what this book is about, honestly. It just says a mom's night gone horribly wrong, so I don't know. I might try to read this today. The next book is Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This book is actually the book that I'm reading with my book club novella for the month of July. I honestly have no clue what this book is about, but I heard a lot of good reviews about it. The next book, I randomly got this on Amazon, Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. This is a YA romance. Did not realize I was buying a YA book when I bought this, but I don't mind YA, obviously. I did get the audio book for this, or I put it on hold on Libby, so I think I'm about 3rd or 4th in line for this. So ideally I would love to read and listen to it at the same time, but we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping to read this probably towards the end of the month. And then the final book is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. You already know this is my girl. This is my girl. I love her books, and I'd heard a lot of good things about this book. And yeah, I would love to read this book, but half of me is also like, girl, just wait until like the fall. Like, pace yourself, because I feel like if I read this book, I just read White Smoke. If I read this book, then I only have 2 more books of hers to read, and I'm gonna be wanting some more from her. And I think her next book doesn't come out till like 2025 or 26. So I'm like, do I want to wait till at least like the fall to read this? Like, what do I want to do? But I really want to read it. Like, I'm like fiending to read this, so we'll see. That's pretty much it, y'all. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about the books that I read in June and talk about the books that I hope to read in the month of July. I would love to know what you all are reading this month and what you read for the month of June, or if you read any of these books. So comment that down below, and thank you all for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.